Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. Today, we are seated not because we want to, because we have to. An emergency pod has been declared. Babar Azam has resigned once again. But before we can get to any of that, what the hell are you wearing, Bashar?
So I'm wearing this shirt. It has two portions of different shirts. So basically, we have the 09 T20 World Cup winning jersey, and this is the 2023 Star Nation jersey stitched into one, sent to me by the very nice people at Switch Hit. Shout out Switch Hit. And I just thought it would be important to wear this shirt today because Babar resigning means a dawn of a new era, the rising of a new sun.
But why are you wearing a stitched up dawn of an older era?
Memories.
Oh my
Maroon
God.
5 once said, memories bring back memories.
This is the worst podcast start of all time. Maroon 5 has been evoked, as well as this shirt, which has nothing to do with Babar Azam resigning, but here we are. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, second resignation in a year for my man. The worst keeps on coming.
I don't know, man. I'm speechless. Honestly, firstly, like, why on a Tuesday? Why on a random Tuesday?
Usually it happens on a Sunday, no?
We just released an episode this morning, and we're like, as content creators, we have an upload schedule, and we didn't have anything planned for the next 3 or 4 days. And we were kind of researching the next episode, just taking a break. And all of a sudden, that Instagram post hit, and many of you guys tagged us, sent it to us, and literally took me by surprise.
Babar Azam was trending right below Iran and right above Israel on Twitter for about an hour and a half. When that had happened, that just goes to show, guys, get your priorities in order. What is happening? I don't know what to say.
I know what to say.
This was in the coming, right? This was in the making for a very long time. It was in the tea leaves. Whoever was even slightly aware of the Champions Cup noticed that Babar Azam had withdrawn his captaincy in that format in that tournament, which was just foreshadowing for what was to come. I would be surprised to even see Babar captaining the PSL anymore, Bashar. I will go to that extent. I think he will hand it off to Mohammad Haris. I think he's done with captaining at all. It has been a long and strenuous era of Babar's captaincy, which it felt like wouldn't end, and it wouldn't end, and it wouldn't end. And then there were stops and starts and stops and starts, more stops and starts. And we're at the point where it's happened. We're here. But is it forever?
The real question is, will Babar continue captaincy in other formats in the PSL?
I just said so. I think he's going to withdraw it.
It could be.
I think he's going to hand it over to Mohammad Haris at the PSL as well. Mohammad Haris actually did some good captaining. I thought aggressive captain. He leads from the front, and just a normal, just an adequate successor to what Babar represents, which is just complacency, and he's always 2 steps behind. Which, I mean, let's just go. Like when we go down to the stats, you'll see what we've done in the past 4 years.
Well, we're one step ahead because this episode is sponsored by Yashi Sports, Canada's home of cricket. Yashi Sports. If you are a beginner starting out or you're a pro player who need expert advice or equipment or both, Yashi Sports is your place to go. And they've given us an exclusive discount code, BP10, for 10% off your next purchase. I think it's very important that you get expert advice and equipment, because sometimes you can go into a store and just buy the best of the best, even though you're playing like 3rd division TND league.
So you can go to Yashi and buy the Babar Azam Grey Nichols bat, but you don't need it because you're bad at number 10.
Exactly.
Okay, I see.
So it's why it's important to have expert advice as well as expert high quality equipment. And that's where I think the fusion of both is where we get Yashi Sports, Canada's home of cricket.
I also think it's very important to have expert ad readers like yourself, because I butchered it in the last episode, and somebody very nicely said Nazar needs to start reading off the screen when he's reading his ad reads. And I think from now on, henceforth, the captain and the major of ad reads, Bashar Sayed.
Yo, I'm just passionate about Yashi Sports, bro.
Yeah, 100%. They're a great company, and we love that they support us, and we would love for you guys to support them.
So this was Babar Azam's second resignation in the last 1 year. We have seen 2 resignations from Babar Azam, but 0 hundreds in international cricket. There is a
That's a
running
crazy
joke on this podcast that your son, my nephew, Mikhail, was born on October 13th, 2023. And you hyped up Babar Azam to Mikhail. You're like, bro, Mikhail, Babar Azam is the next big thing.
This is a
He's
true
our
story.
guy.
Almost named him Babar.
Almost. He's like, yo, I don't care if it's a guy or a girl. It's going to be Babar.
I'm really happy for my wife for intervening and making that not happen. Thank you very much.
And so since Mikhail has been born, he has seen Babar Azam resign twice and score 0 hundreds.
Right when Babar tweeted his resignation for the second time, Mikhail just let a huge poop out. And that was it for him. That was his response to that.
Relief.
Well, yeah. And he's like, this is it, man. Like, what are you going to do? Can you score some runs and stop putting out statements? It's high time. He's about to turn 1. Mikhail's about to start walking before Babar's going to score a century at this point.
I think it's quite apt, or we're quite fortunate that we have you on the podcast because you're a poet, you're a writer. And I'd love if you could walk us through Babar Azam's statement, which he released on Instagram and Twitter and the socials.
Oh, I would love to. The one thing that I loved doing as a student, and I went back to my high school to do this as well, was just read people's work of arts. And I think this itself is a work of art. I know who wrote this. It's not Babar Azam. It's my boy Talha Assam.
Brother and mentor.
Yeah, he probably is the one who constructed this email. But let's just go through it paragraph by paragraph. Dear fans, capital F.
Addressing all the fans of the Pakistan
No,
team.
straight up, like capital F for fans, not small, capital F. I'm sharing some news with you today, and this is where I thought he was dying. Then I went on. I've decided to resign as captain of the Pakistan's men's cricket team, effective as of my notification to the PCB and team management last month.
No,
now wait a minute.
Hold up. Last month is critical also because I think strategically he resigned on October 1st. So last month could mean yesterday.
Oh no, I think
If you really look into it, it could mean yesterday.
No, I think this was done when the Champions Cup was announced. This is probably done before the Bangladesh series. I think everybody knew.
I kind of disagree with that because I read PCB's media release, and on September 22nd, they released a press release about the connection camp, and they quoted Babar Azam bracket Pakistan white ball captain. So something happened at the connection camp where Babar Azam got disconnected.
Two things.
Disconnection camp.
He was waiting a very long time for that joke. Two things happened. Two things can happen. Firstly, this won't be the first time that the PCB lies, right? And secondly, it was just way too obvious brackets white ball captain to be like, hey, this guy's still our white ball captain, just saying, white ball captain, where are you? There you are. It's one of those situations where it was like, just put it in your face. So it's like, you make it so obvious that it becomes suspicious. Now, when you go back retrospectively, that's how I feel about that. I think this was decided a long time ago. I think Shoaib Malik knew. That's why he came out and said, we're not, Babar, we don't want Babar as captain. We were giving Shoaib Malik so much credit, thinking outside of the box. And this guy's actually trying to do something with this Champions Cup. He's not trying to just win it. He's actually trying to build a team here. And it just came down to the fact that Babar was like, nah, I'm good. Moving on. It's been an honor to lead this team, but it's time for me to step down and focus on my playing role. This is the first time in the past 18 to 24 months where Babar has emphasized his playing role. I think this, as we move forward into the statement, we realize that Babar is also a little bit maybe shying away from the obvious, but he's talking about the fact that he may have not been up to his own standards. Captaincy has been a rewarding experience, but it's added a significant workload. There we go. That's what I was talking about. I want to prioritize my performance, enjoy my batting, and spend quality time with my family, which brings me joy. How I read this is, captaincy did not bring me joy. That's how I read it.
Or captaincy added so much stress on me that I was constantly thinking about that, even off the field. And when you're Pakistan captain, I mean,
it never stops.
It never stopped. Yeah,
I agree. By stepping down, I will gain clarity moving forward and focus more energy on my game and personal growth. Again, if you read between the lines, it just says that in the past few months, maybe a year or so, I've lost clarity, I've lost my personal growth, and I've lost the energy to play the game.
Wow.
Which was so obvious if you had ever seen a Pakistan game in the past 12 to 24 months. Maybe after the Asia Cup, you were like, please send this man home. He has aged 20 years in the past 10 months. I'm grateful for your unwavering support and belief in me. Your enthusiasm has meant the world to me. This is talking to the capital F fans here, right? I'm proud of what we've achieved together and excited to continue contributing to the team as a player. Thank you for your love and support, Babar Azam.
I think you've broken this down brilliantly. The fact that I think the most important paragraph is by stepping down, I will gain clarity moving forward and focus more energy on my game and personal growth.
Again, first time in a very long time that Babar has admitted that he's in the game and needs some growth. We've been screaming up here, Babar, you don't have a sweep shot. Babar, you cannot live your entire career off of your beautiful cover
You're
drives.
getting out on fourth stump again and again.
You need innovation, Babar. You need to learn the toe. Jared Kimber's, the dubious toe at this point. Everybody's pointing on weaknesses. I think this is the first time that Babar has accepted that maybe there is time. There's something going on and it's time to grow. And I appreciate that.
Do you think this resignation is a few months too late? I mean, this is coming at a time after Pakistan has not played any white ball game in over 3 months, I would say. Pakistan lost the T20 World Cup back in June. We are now in the first week of October. And there was silence on Babar Azam's end post World Cup. There was no press conference after he came back to Pakistan. And the news circulating within the media was more about Shaheen Afridi's misbehavior, his attitude, the lack of unity in the team versus the actual performances. And I feel like there's been a lack of accountability for this Pakistan captain in the past few months. And I feel like Babar Azam should have come out in a press conference, faced the media, answered some burning questions, and give the fans some more clarity on what went wrong, what he was trying to do, and what we can expect going forward.
What I feel is that recently with the whole Iftikhar Ahmed debacle with the press conference, I think that these Pakistani players are too pent up and maybe facing the media is not the way forward currently. I just think there's too much has been said and too much has been heard in the past 12 to 24 months by outlets and by journalists that these players are just like, they've had it, right? Somebody as cool and calm as Shan Masood, who was belittled at the press conference. I don't know if you saw this. I think that Babar Azam coming to the media, taking questions would probably not end well. And I'm totally okay with him not doing this. I think this is, as a fan, as somebody who understands the game, as somebody who's close to the game, I understand what is being said in the statement. That being said, I agree with you with the accountability aspect. I don't think accountability was ever bestowed upon Babar. There was no clarity, like you said. I have to ask you a question. Who is Pakistan's, in the history of Pakistan cricket, who's the most popular player?
Shahid Afridi?
Correct, in my opinion as well. Shahid Afridi, when he was captain and he lost the World Cup in 2011, and he came back, there was accountability. What happened? Why did it happen? Eventually, he lost the captaincy and he never took it back. He played, I think, another 5 years as a player under Misbah. Okay? Babar is not bigger than Shahid Afridi. Sorry to say. I mean, I would love to think so as well. And I think their auras are comparable. Like, people have to compare it. There may be moments where he does shine a little bit better. He definitely has, he's better with the bat than Shahid Afridi ever was. But just 1-to-1 right now, he's not bigger than Shahid Afridi.
I kind of disagree with that. Actually, for this generation, Babar Azam is equivalent to Shahid Afridi. We saw in the Champions Cup.
And Shahid Afridi for all generations.
Wait, Babar Azam in the Champions Cup, when he got out, we saw the stadium become empty.
Yeah, but
that's what happened back in the day for Shahid Afridi.
Yeah, you can say Coldplay is a great band. Like, they're doing 10 nights at Wembley, but you can never compare to the Beatles.
I mean, for someone who's never seen the Beatles, who's never lived through the Beatles' popularity, I think for me, Coldplay right now would be the biggest band in the world.
Agreed, but again, you have a very small sample size with that. You'll have to go back to history and relearn your history, basically, in that sense. And with Shahid Afridi, he was the first one. People left Pakistan India games. And to think about it now, it's like, whoa, why would you do that? Like, we didn't know what was coming in the future. We wouldn't have any Pakistan India games, but people genuinely left stadiums between Pakistan and India games when Afridi got out. I'm not trying to compare that. We're sort of going on a tangent here. What I'm trying to say is, I agree with you. The accountability was given to that player, and Babar has to be held accountable as well. This is a very good start. The connection camp, we make fun of it. I think I called it a concentration camp before. You called it a disconnection camp. I think whatever was said, whatever was conveyed to both parties in that meeting, I think it's working, because people are coming out from the woodworks and they're saying that, Fakhar said this, it was heard. Babar's statement was coming out very loud and clear. I think the only thing that I think right off the top of my head, there's Kobe right there on my right.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace. But Kobe was always looked up to Jordan, and Jordan retired after their first three, came back, and he got swept, I believe, or knocked out by Shaq, and he was wearing number 45, right? Maybe this is a number 45 situation for Babar. Maybe he shouldn't have come back and taken the captaincy back again. I think.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the repercussions of Babar Azam firstly resigning after the ODI World Cup, the captaincy going to Shaheen Afridi. Shaheen Afridi captaining Pakistan for one series in New Zealand, losing 4-1, coming back, and then we have the players going into the PSL, the Kakul training camp, whatever that was, and then Babar Azam comes out as the Pakistan captain again. And this is against all of Babar Azam's close advisors who had advised him against taking captaincy. And I think our stance on this podcast has always been that Babar Azam should never have taken the captaincy back.
Narratively speaking, I want to basically deconstruct that a little bit more. What happens when Babar Azam comes back from the World Cup in 2023, right? He comes back, people are upset, but under the table, we understand that there is more than the game going on. We understand what Zak Ashraf is doing. We understand what journalists other than Zak Ashraf that are on his payroll are doing. There's leaks, there's text messages being shared amongst the media that should not be shared. And when Babar comes out, he steps down. We also know maybe his hand was a bit forced. And what happens narratively in the media and with the public then? Babar is hailed a hero, right? He is hailed as someone who got done wrong in a long line of wrongdoings against captains. This was another name. And Babar, the whole country was behind Babar.
We were looking back on Babar Azam's captaincy as playing a semi-final T20 World Cup, playing an Asia Cup final, playing a T20 World Cup final, and most importantly, that the team being one as a unit, which we hardly ever see in the Pakistan camp.
Agreed, totally. And so that's the narrative that's being built up. And Babar resigns, and Shahan's named the red ball captain, and Shaheen's named the white ball captain. And literally, it felt like a new leaf was being turned over. Zak Ashraf resigns. That's it. Skip forward 4 to 5 months. Kakul Academy happens. We come out. Suddenly, Shaheen's not captain anymore. Shaheen is being vilified and literally like dragged through the mud amongst the media. And Babar takes captaincy. It feels like almost at gunpoint. He's very reluctant that about captaincy. We're hearing that it wasn't his first choice. He was forced into it. And what happens? Narratively speaking, everything shifts. Babar becomes the bad guy. We have other people sprout up. We have the Ifis and the Vasis of the world coming out and really taking that moment to double down on their stance as an anti-Babar agenda. People came at us, thought we were anti-Babar. At some point, finger pointing started happening. The fandom became very toxic because
very polarized,
very toxic. There wasn't a spectrum anymore. It was right or left. It was black and white. It was very rigid at the time. It was not fun to be a Pakistani cricket fan in that moment. And Babar comes out and he has one of the worst World Cup runs ever. And we lose against the USA. We lose against Ireland in that series. We get knocked out. We couldn't chase 120. Babar's batting is nowhere to be seen. It's been over a year since he scored a century in international cricket, and on and on and on and on. I think this decision of him accepting his flaws, coming out, it's a very personal, like very open decision here. And we can read, as we did between the lines, coming out saying, hey, I was struggling. It wasn't the right move. Thank you everyone for helping me out. But it's time for me to go on as a player for the rest of my career. I think that narrative switch will happen. We already started seeing it happen in our cousins group. We started seeing the same cousins who were like belittling Babar are now like sending positive Babar memes. I'm looking at you, Saad. And the narrative will start shifting pro Babar. And if Babar is also working at his game at the same time as he alluded to, I think this could be a really good outcome.
What we found actually is that when Shaheen took captaincy after the ODI World Cup, Babar's POV was that, how dare Shaheen go behind my back, betray me, and take the white ball captaincy. I thought Shaheen was on my side. And when Babar got the opportunity to one-up Shaheen again, I think he took it. And again, this is despite all of Babar's close advisors telling him, bro, don't take the captaincy. This will split the Pakistan team. This is exactly what the board wants. the board is not happy that you guys just negotiated contracts that have never been seen before in the Pakistan cricket history. I mean, getting a percent of the ICC revenue, and there's more conversations around image rights and other revenue sharing models. So the one thing that the Pakistan Cricket Board needed was a Pakistan team that was disunited.
Ununited, yeah.
And so what we found out is that Babar Azam was forced by the PCB to take the captaincy, and secondly, Babar Azam makes almost all of his life's decisions based on his dad's advice. And Babar's dad had advised him, Babar, take the captaincy back. And I think the main motive behind that was to have an opportunity to win a T20 World Cup. I think Babar thought that he had a pretty good team on his hand. And on paper, Pakistan's team looked pretty decent.
I agree.
But unfortunately, the team couldn't click. There was a few close games that could have gone either way. The game against USA, the game against India. Had Pakistan won that, they could have gone to the Super 8, and it could have been a different ending to Babar Azam's captaincy tenure.
I agree. And you're only judged with the wins that you have. And with so few wins in his second stint, 6 wins in 13 matches, he was named white ball captain, didn't play a single ODI game, which is, again, I don't know if you want to take it as a miscalculation by the PCB as to schedulings, or just a shame that Babar was not even there long enough to play a single ODI as white ball captain again. How many months was he back? He came back in February or in April, right?
Yeah,
back in
March,
April.
March, April.
Yeah, March, April, and he'd resigned in October. That's 6 months, 7.5 months, 8 months.
I mean,
almost.
actual playing wise, it was post PSL. It was basically April, May, June. That's it. 3 months.
Yeah,
he came
3
back.
months. What did we gain from this? Absolutely nothing. We got a team that was completely divided, visibly, unhappy, and the way that they've treated Shaheen, I wouldn't even treat the worst of my enemies. Honestly, it's just insane that this is the level of professionalism that the PCB has with their star bowler. And, I get that there were camps within the PCB as well that were pro Babar and pro Shaheen. That's okay. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I didn't like the way that they treated Shaheen. I didn't like how Shaheen reacted to the whole situation. I didn't like how PCB was trying to put words into Shaheen's mouth. Shaheen was like, I never said any of this. I didn't like how Babar felt. I didn't like the scheming, how Babar felt backstab and then backstab Shaheen back. And like this whole Game of Thrones-esque politics, game of, charades and musical chairs. Hated it. It was probably the worst time to be a Pakistan cricket fan, as I've said before. If this means that we're turning over a new leaf finally, and this means that we won't have to see all that shenanigans again, then I'm all for it. I welcome it with open arms.
The one thing I will credit Babar for is when he was initially being made captain, people said him being captain would affect his batting. I don't think it's really affected his batting if you look at his overall numbers. He has 6,739 runs at an average of 47 and 15 centuries.
Is this all 3 formats?
This is across formats, yes. So I think that's a pretty good record as a captain. The one area where Babar really needed improvement is his performances in the last few multi-nation tournaments. And I would say starting off from the 2022 Asia Cup, and then the T20 World Cup, then the Asia Cup, the next Asia Cup, the ODI Asia Cup. Aside from the game against Nepal, Babar was a no-show. The ODI World Cup, where Babar was ranked in the ICC rankings, how much he was hyped in that ODI World Cup going into India, I don't think he converted his hype into actual performances. And especially against USA, India in this T20 World Cup, Babar was basically a no-show. I thought he would be much more of a clutch player. Where he is in the point of his career, like he's nearing 30, and that's sort of considered as a prime of any batsman. So I felt like Babar would show us the best of the best at this point, but unfortunately, that was not the case. Coming back to what you said, I agree this is a new leaf in Babar Azam's career, a fresh chapter, and I'm excited to see where he improves on things that he wants to improve on, like his batting, his just personal growth, his media training, how he communicates with the media, with his teammates. Because now Babar Azam is a senior player in the Pakistan team. And I'm sure any youngster batter coming up is going to be looking up to him for advice, for guidance. And I think that's going to be his role going forward in the Pakistan dressing room.
Just a little tidbit, a sneak trivia. Babar Azam scored 320 runs in that 2023 World Cup with 450s and an average of 40. In contrast to the player of the tournament and the person who scored the most runs in that World Cup, Virat Kohli, who scored 765 runs at an average of 95, strike rate of 90, high score of 117, 3 centuries, 650s, and also a duck in there somehow.
Well, Virat's
That's
not
just-
human.
I'm just saying
Let's
the-
just not even have him in the conversation.
That's again, I was not aware of that. That's how crazy those stats were, but those were the stats, and that just shows the contrast of who he is, who he had become, and where his peers were in that moment. Moving forward, I mean, white ball is wide open. I would argue red ball is also wide open. The captaincy slots. Let's hear some picks.
I think what the media reports are saying is that Mohammad Rizwan is going to be a very likely candidate to be a white ball captain. And I think that's a totally fine call in ODIs. I would say even test matches, I think Rizwan should have been our test captain.
Have you not learned from assigning a 3-format captain all over again? I don't think they would do that.
Well, split captaincy was also not doing Pakistan a favor. I think Azhar Ali and Babar were sharing captaincy back after Sarfaraz was removed from captain. So honestly, at this point, I don't know what works for Pakistan. I don't know if foreign coaches are good. I don't know if local coaches are good. I don't know if split captaincy is good. I don't know if all format captaincy is good. I'm just really confused.
Do you think the Gillespie and Kirsten knew that he resigned?
I don't know.
He said management knew a month ago.
Again, what is a month?
It's 30 days.
It's October.
So he'd probably.
And last month is technically it's September.
So you're saying this is like a snap decision?
I think
Is that
maybe
what you're alluding to?
I think maybe Babar may have hinted it's at the connection camp. I think he definitely did foreshadow it by not captaining in the Champions Cup, with Mohammad Haris captaining him in the Stallions team. That was a hint that Babar Azam will not continue as white ball captain or any captain.
Yeah, and so that's what I think. Where as planning goes, how does Kirsten look at this? Because Kirsten is a white ball coach, and he definitely has some plans. He has a major tournament coming up. He has major series coming up lined up. I think isn't Pakistan also going to Australia to play some ODIs?
Yeah, ODIs and T20s.
ODIs and T20s. They're coming. That's in November, I believe, right? So he doesn't have a lot of time. He's probably going to have a new captain. I'm hoping he already knows who it is. If I was a betting man, I think this is finally Mohammad Rizwan's time. Let's talk about that a little bit. Mohammad Rizwan has had a great year as Pakistan's middle order. I mean, in test matches, he's great. In ODIs, he's great. In T20s, he's great. What do we think of him as a leader, though?
Wait, is he great in T20s?
I mean, in T20s, there's no other option.
As a top order player, his current career strike rate is 126.
We keep going back to this. They're not going to drop him.
Go back to this.
They're not going to drop him. We made our clear. Our stance is clear on him. I don't think he's. I don't think he's in my 11 if I ever make a Pakistan 11 for T20s, right? But that being said, if Pakistan persisting with him and at this point may make him the white ball captain, then there's no beating around the bush. He's going to be there. So might as well accept it and hope that he plays the best as he can.
Well, I'm going to accept it, but I'm going to have my reservations because I stand by this and I will die on this hill. I don't think two anchors should be in your top three. I think you need two explosive batsmen who can really utilize the power play, and Mohammad Rizwan with a career strike rate of 126. And then Babar Azam, who also has a strike rate of 128, 129. Both of these guys should not be together in the top three. It's a defensive start. I'm looking at the way Australia is playing with their openers like Travis Head and Matthew Short. I'm looking at how England plays their cricket with Joss Butler and Phil Salt. And I'm ripping the few hair that I have less when I'm seeing Pakistani openers bat in T20s. It's a defensive mindset. And I want to see Pakistan play more attacking cricket. I want to see guys like Fakhar Zaman opening. I want to see Mohammad Haris opening. I want to see Saim Ayub actually delivering. And I don't know if I'm going to live to see that day.
Let's talk about it. If Mohammad Rizwan becomes captain, does he go to number 5?
No, definitely not. He's going to be opening until he is captain. Because the one time in the last series, it was when Shaheen was captain, I think Rizwan was sent one down and Babar and Saim were opening. And Rizwan came, as he does, a post-match press conference saying that he's not happy with the opening pair of Rizbar being broken, and he's also not happy with going one down. Lo and behold, the next series when Babar is captain, Babar goes one down, and then Rizwan and Saim were opening.
I mean, our friends at Butterfast have said that Rizwan may be a destabilizing figure in the dressing room, and that the management overlooking him this many times just tells us that maybe they're not looking into him as captain. At this point, let's take Rizwan out of the conversation for a second. Gun to your head, who's your white ball captain for Pakistan?
I think it would make sense to give Shaheen a proper run this time. Like, why did you give him captaincy? Firstly, and why did you take it away from him? I think there is an argument that Shaheen may not even deserve a place in the playing 11 with the way he's bowling recently.
Maybe red ball, but would you take him out of white ball as well? I think I'd give him a stunt.
Maybe.
At least he's playing the Champions Trophy. You know that, right?
For sure. I think him, Naseem, I think we're in the phase where we're investing into these guys. They don't really have a lot of substantial performances behind them. I think both Naseem and Shaheen are playing just based off of their future potential and their current hype.
But Naseem, at least in that situation, is one of those players that you have to bet on, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're Shaheen as captain or not captain, Naseem, you bet on him.
Gun to my head, as to what your question was, I think it's really unfortunate that Shadab Khan is not in the best bowling and batting form, because I would have loved to see him lead Pakistan.
He's a natural
with an
successor.
extensive.
He's a natural successor to Babar Azam, and the
for,
fact that
for 1 second, just forget about this jersey, the Islamabad United jersey. Forget that we worked at Islamabad United. I think the way Shadab's brain operates, the way he leads the team, the way he maintains a positive environment within the camp, I think that is what Pakistan team need. But again, I understand and I acknowledge that Shadab, again, probably does not deserve a place in the Pakistan playing 11 right now. So the conversation of him being in the captaincy competition is out the window.
So you're going with Shaheen.
Shaheen.
How
about you?
I'm trying to think about this. Like, same question posed to myself. Honestly, in white ball, there isn't anybody who really has a lot of experience in leadership. We've had Babar for so long that we haven't really had a chance to see anybody else. We had Shadab, who we've mentioned before, is just not it right now. He's not in rhythm. He said it himself after the Champions Cup press conference. He said he's going to spend some time in domestic. He's going to try to bowl long overs. I love that. I think he should take his time, take 6 months off, come back after the Champions Trophy. See where we're at with that. What do you think about Saman Ali Agha?
I think he's too young. I think he's still cementing his spot in the Pakistan team. I haven't seen him captain domestics or the PSL, so we're not really sure how he would do on the big stage. You have to also consider the captain that's going to be announced now will likely captain the next Champions Trophy, the next T20 World Cup, and even maybe the next ODI World Cup.
I think you're looking way too far ahead.
I just think it's a natural thing. Let's say hypothetically, if Rizwan is announced, you have to give him a proper run where he captains a few tournaments. So let's say if he announced white ball captain, the next big ODI tournament is the Champions Trophy. The next big T20 tournament is the T20 World Cup.
In 2026.
Yes, which is just 2 years away. Not even. It's a year and a half away.
The way the Pakistan's form is, if they have a horrible run in the next 6 months, this captain might be fired.
So we're going back into the phase where we have instability.
And listen to me. Mohammad Rizwan as captain, he goes to Australia, gets 3-0, right?
Lose.
Yeah, he loses 3-0. He goes to the there's this tri series happening in Pakistan. Pakistan may not come out of that as victors. And then he goes to the Champions Trophy and he gets wiped out in his home tournament. Do you think he survives all these three things?
I think the results at home could be slightly different. Like, I feel like Pakistan may be able to turn things around. And if they develop a solid 15, talking about a proper squad, they may be able to win the tri-series, take that momentum, and be competitive in the Champions Trophy. I think if Pakistan finishes top 4 even, which, given it's their home conditions, Rizwan could continue as captain.
That says nothing to me because we've been playing test match cricket at home for the past 3 years. Haven't won a single test match.
Red ball, white ball is a different...
We lost the series against New Zealand, quote-unquote, C team.
We drew it 2-2.
I consider that a failure series, in my opinion. So I'm not confident in the fact that it's home advantage. I don't even think we know what home advantage is. As Naseem Shah says, we don't know what our advantage is when we're playing at home. Is it spin? Is it fast? Is it bouncy pitches? Is it green tops? So I am extreme. I don't want to be like concerned trolling, but I'm a little bit of a cynic when it comes to this. I don't know who this next person is going to be and if they're going to survive after February. I'm being very honest.
I disagree with that. Again, I think I'm standing with the point where whoever's going to be announced now is going to continue for the next at least a year.
Would you?
And we talk about Pakistan giving consistent chances to a chairman, to a captain, to coaches. I think with Gary Kirsten in the picture, I think he would want to work with this one captain, figure out what direction they want to take Pakistan's white ball team, and then stick with that for the next few months at least.
Would you want Rizwan to be captain?
For ODIs, yes. I'm even an advocate for him in test matches. I feel like Shan Masood right now is struggling to justify his own place in the test playing 11. And I felt like Rizwan would be a pretty natural successor to Babar Azam in test matches.
Yeah, I think if you make Rizwan captain, you have the opportunity to drop Shan and then get someone like Amran Ghulam or whoever is knocking at this point at the test match doors for number 3.
But T20s, I have strict reservations on Rizwan's place in the team. I think either I've said this many times, either he changes exactly how he plays. He plays at a strike rate of 140, 135 at least. And then we can be in a conversation where, okay, Rizwan is good as a top 3. So
you're Mr. Naqvi right now. You're Bashar Naqvi, right? You can't split captains have 3 different captains for all 3 formats. If you give, Shan is red ball, you give ODIs to Rizwan, who would you make T20 captain then? Shaheen. I think I like that.
So are we saying 3 different captains for every format?
For now, and then most likely what's going to happen in the next few weeks is that England's going to throttle Pakistan through and Shan will have to resign and get dropped, and then you make Rizwan red ball captain as well. And then you basically groom Shaheen in test matches, in T20s, and have him slowly but surely escalate into ODIs. And if he still
Isn't this exactly what Australia is doing? Mitch Marsh is their T20 captain. He captained them through the last T20 World Cup, and Pat Cummins is captain of ODIs and tests. So I think it could make sense.
I don't know who said this, but I think it was Usman Samiuddin in one of the Battafas podcasts. He said this, and I really resonated with this. T20s is a completely separate game, but test matches and ODIs are still very distant cousins. So you could have one captain manage those 2 aspects and have a completely second guy aspect manage T20s, because it's literally a completely different game. ODIs and test matches still share some things with them. You can have a collapse in the first 15 overs and have 20, 25 overs to rebuild and then finish strong in ODIs. Same thing with test matches. You can have a collapse in the first session and then have, the rest of the day or whatever to rebuild and whatnot. In T20s, you don't have that kind of leeway. If you collapse in the power play, you most likely at that point have lost the game and you're just trying to save whatever momentum you have left. That you need a completely different guy to handle that variety as opposed to handling test matches and ODI. So maybe if Rizwan goes ODI and test and you get Shaheen and T20s, I would like that. And then you slowly transition Shaheen over and then you can judge them on results and whatnot. But I would rather have that than have Rizwan through and through.
I agree. And I think, I liked what Shaheen was trying to do when he was captain for just 5 matches. I liked that Shaheen broke the Rizwan Babar opening pair. I liked how he promoted Saim Ayub as an opener. I liked how he had the right idea with bringing back Azam Khan and Mohammad Amir and Imal Wasim. So I think Shaheen does have a good head on him. And if given an opportunity with more freedom and more leverage to freely lead the Pakistan T20 side, it could be a good opportunity.
100%. I'm going to jump over to the Patreon board where I posted the fact that Babar had resigned. If you guys want a part of this conversation, you can join our Patreon. There's a lot of exciting things happening there. Links in the description below. Do definitely check it out. I'm just going to run through these real quick. I posted Babar Azam resigned, and Razia says, you guys should have written Babar Azam resigned from captaincy. For a second, I thought he retired or something, and then crying faces. I'm sorry, Razia. I didn't know that. I was shocked, so I just was letting it out. Zian says, better late than never. It would be unjust to say he wasn't a good captain. He played a few finals under him and saw glimpses of a great team. His weaknesses as a tactician always held him back, and also led during some of the most unstable periods of PCB, although it has Has it ever been stable? Lol. The only hope is that this is a permanent decision and he won't take it back once again. I don't think he will, Zen, if I'm being honest. Looking ahead, I think Rizwan is probably the best choice for white ball cricket. Shaheen may seem to have a case, but with current performances and susceptibility to injuries. Oof, I hate that word. It doesn't make sense. However, if the England series goes well and Shaheen gets some runs, I can definitely see him being pushed into the ODI team as captain for the Champions Trophy. This is Pakistan cricket team after all. Zen, that is the worst take. I hope that doesn't happen. Oh Lord, just give me shivers thinking about that. Ehsan says, I think it probably came out of the connection camp. He realized focusing on batting will be a better use of his efforts rather than dealing with the rest of the politics. Overall, I think a good decision. Hoping this will help reduce the burden on him and allow him to start getting back into the runs, enjoying his cricket. I agree with Ehsan on this. I think that's the take that I have as well.
We got Ultra saying that I think it's great for him to just focus on his batting. I do believe it's time for Rizwan to be given a chance. And if Babar has resigned, does that also mean Sean might also resign or be sacked?
And I love what Yusuf says here, by the way. As Babar resigns from captaincy again, putting aside the negative, let's just appreciate the glimpses of happiness we got from his batting and unity he created in his team from 2019 to 2024. I think Yusuf is being a little generous here, but moving on. He was brought in a role he did not need, but he took it on and got us to multiple semis and finals of international tournaments. We saw wins against India, South Africa, England, and Australia, and especially 152 for 0. Go well, not Bobsy, not Bobby, not King, just Babar Azam. I think that's beautiful. Yusuf, you should be a writer or something. That was actually beautiful to read. I think the sentiment was, I don't want to sound mean, but it's more like good riddance. Like
there is relief amongst the Pakistan fans.
Yes, there is no pushback. There's no one's pulling at him. This is welcomed with open arms, and I think that resonates with the fans. That says a lot about where the Pakistani fandom is in mentally, what they're thinking, what the pulse is. And I think Babar has capitalized on this. What I think, I echo Yusuf here. I hope Babar has learned from this stint. He is a beautiful cricketer. He's one of Pakistan's bests. I don't think Pakistan has produced a batsman like him ever. That is my hot take. In the mid to tail end of his career, now he has about 6 to 7 years of cricket left under his belt. I think now is the time for him to think about cups. Now is the time for him to think about his legacy. He does have a Champions Trophy. I would love for him to complete the trifecta, get an ODI World Cup, get a T20 World Cup, get in the runs. He's better than that. Toe or no toe, I don't care. Get back in form, Babar Azam. You are better than this.
Well said. And I think on that note, I'd like to call out the emoji of the day.
Please.
Which I think should be a crown and a rocket ship that's about to take off, which I feel like is going to be a good analogy of what this next chapter for Babar Azam could be in his career. Him leaving captaincy, focused on his batting and his personal growth, his evolution as a person, as an individual, as a batsman, as a senior player within the Pakistan cricket team. I hope we get to see the best of Babar Azam in the coming days.
You seem a little melancholic here.
I'm good. I'm okay. There is a sense of relief, I think, but also at the same time, a sense of stress that was going to take over.
Yeah. There's never a dull day in Pakistan cricket, as you say.
Never.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for enduring another emergency pod. We were not expecting this, and so we had this drafted really last minute. I hope we were able to convey our emotions and our feelings to the best of our abilities. Yep.
If you want to join the Backward Point Discord community to unload your thoughts, to chat with similar like-minded people, we call it a non-toxic place to discuss cricket. The link to join is in the description. It is absolutely free, and by joining, you join over 1,000 backward pointers.
You're trying to make this happen, and people hate this, by the way. Backward pointers is not it.
And you get to discuss cricket with them. We have a space called Net Session where people post videos of them playing cricket. They get comments from other Backward Point fans. And I feel like it's the place to be. Let's go on the Discord.
100%. I'm going to be on the Discord all night today, just trying to figure this situation out. That's probably the place to be when something mega like this happens in cricket. People also want us to cover the India-Bangladesh series. I promise there's going to be some sort of review coming up. We'll also have the preview for the England-Pakistan series coming up as well. And there's also some associate cricket happening that we have also been a touch of. You've been to a Canada-Nepal game, and we'd like to give that brief as well. So hopefully coming this week, all that stuff. Anyways, enough rambling. Babar Azam is no longer white ball captain. It is a brand new day in Pakistan cricket. I hope everybody else has a good day as well.
Cheers.
Cheers.